Okay, just a few more slides to wrap up, and then we are done with chapter 1. Yay. So we're going to deal with a lot of microbes, and in lab and the majority of lecture, we're going to be talking about bacteria. So those are the examples I'm going to give you. But I want to explain how microbes are classified and named. So the fancy term for this is microbial binomial nomenclature, which I know is a mouthful, but if we break it down, it just means that we are going to describe microbe species using 2 names. That's what binomial nomenclature means. And this is used worldwide. So it doesn't matter if you get a bacterial infection, visiting Iceland or going to South America or in Iowa. All medically trained professionals are going to use this exact same scheme. And so they will call all organisms by the same names. So when we talk about the 2 words, the word that comes first is referred to as the genus. And this is actually the more general description of the bacteria or whatever type of microbe you're talking about. So I kind of remember that because genus begins with GE, so it is general. Okay, so that can remind you that it's more general. And then the species, which is the second word, is much more specific in terms of describing the organism. And once again, species, SPE, specific, SPE. So that's how I remember it. So there are 2 rules when it comes to naming microbes. One, the first letter of the genus is capital, and then all other letters are lowercase. Okay, so when you see the name of a microbe, the first letter will be capitalized, everything else is going to be lowercase. Also, the name of the microbe must either be underlined or in italics. And so you'll notice this when I hand out your lab exercises when you come to lab, or like in PowerPoints and in, different documents I give you. You're going to see that anytime I'm talking about a microbe, no matter what of the 6 classes it's fitting into, it's either going to be underlined or it will be in italics. Okay, so here's one species that we're going to start talking about really fast, probably not in this first lab, but in, labs, lab 2 and lab 3. So this is a super common microbe. We are all covered with it. It's all over our skin. So the name is Staphylococcus aureus. So you'll notice the first letter, that S, is capital, and then this is in italics. So I could also underline it. Okay, so writing it without italics but underlined, that would also be correct. Okay, so a lot of times the name of the organism can give you some clues about it. So remember earlier we talked about the 2 arrangements of bacteria, which are either staph or strep. We also talked about the 3 shapes of bacteria, which are cocci, rod, or spiral. So this, the genus, tells us that we have round bacteria that is in a staph configuration or in a cluster. Okay, so it tells us that it is a cluster of round bacteria. Aureus actually translates from Latin as meaning golden yellow color. And in fact, when you look at colonies of Staph aureus growing on a petri dish, they have kind of a deep yellow or golden yellow color to them. Okay, so for example, to the naked eye, this is what Staph aureus looks like. And when you see the separate little piles or colonies of bacteria, you'll notice that the bacteria has a kind of golden yellow color. Okay, so that's why they picked aureus. A lot of times the species name will tell you the name of the disease that the bacteria or whatever it is causes. Okay, like Streptococcus pneumoniae causes pneumonia. In this case, it doesn't tell you the disease, but it does tell you a little bit about the color of the bacteria. Okay, one thing I want to point out, and I will talk about this much more and explain it to you when you're actually in lab, but under the microscope, there are only two color choices, okay? It's either going to be pink or purple. But under the microscope, you can also see Staphylococcus. It's round bacteria in clusters, okay? And that is what the genus is telling you. So there's one final way to classify organisms. I think this is the last slide. Yay. So it used to be, like when I went to graduate school, I helped teach a course called evolutionary biology. And the way we used to classify organisms is they were divided into 5 kingdoms, okay, which I really liked because you had animals and plants and bacteria and fungi and I think protozoans. I think that was the final kingdom. But I kind of like that, right? Because humans are in with animals. So we're with tigers and bears and elephants and all the cool things. Now, that is not the way that organisms are classified. Now, scientists put them into 3 domains. And here's what the domains look like. Okay, the first domain is bacteria. So these are prokaryotes, right? And they get their own separate category. The other second domain is called archaea. And these aren't ones that we're going to talk about in this class, even though they are prokaryotic. So they look like bacteria, but these guys tend to grow in really extreme environments, like volcanoes and polar ice caps. They're kind of, I think of them kind of like crazy ass bacteria. So we don't see them growing in humans and causing infection. So they are their separate domain because their DNA is a little different. And also, you remember I talked about this chemical, peptidoglycan, which is only found in the cell walls of bacteria. Okay, archaea, even though they are similar in size and structure to bacteria, they don't have any peptidoglycan in their cell walls, and that's what makes them distinct. That, and they tend to live in really weird environments. Okay, so 2 of the 3 domains are prokaryotes, meaning they're really small, single-celled, don't have a nucleus. And then everything with a nucleus is lumped into the 3rd domain, which we call eukarya, meaning that it's everything that is a eukaryotic cell, which has a nucleus. Okay, so great, we're still in with the lions, the bears, the tigers, all the cool stuff, but now we're also lumped in there with slime molds and, giardia and cockroaches and, protozoans and plants and algae. So it's basically anything that has a nucleus and that is a eukaryotic cell is in the domain eukarya. Okay, so no more 5 kingdoms anymore. Actually, these were the 5 kingdoms. We don't have those anymore. It's 3 domains. Okay, so yay, I think we're done. Yeah, okay, finally done with chapter 1, yay. I'm going to get this uploaded and then I will start on lecture videos for chapter 2. But this is all you need for the first quiz that we're going to have at the end of this week. Okay, thank you.